We are live. This is the Moto World News Show from around the world, where we have everything from bicycles to MotoGP to Moto America to trials to whatever, to Moto Supercross. But there is the big news that is happening right now. I just have to turn off the music. Is Deegan, Danger Boy, who's 165 pounds, who's like 5'4", just real big and stocky. He is going to be racing at Budds Creek if he can clinch the championship. And I just have to share my screen because I should have had this done beforehand. So my apologies to all the viewers. Oh, I got to make sure that I got to share the audio so that we can have that as well. But what Racer X has been saying is, let's go from here. With a break in Super Motocross World Championship, Hayden has used the week to hop on the 450. And according to Star Racing founder Bobby Regan, Deegan is already going plenty fast and looks capable on the big bike. So the point is, when I've talked to this little shit, he has been bulking. He's been bulking. He's been getting ready to race just that, the 450. But we are going to have a battle between Jet and Deegan. And Deegan is not going to want to have the Honda boys beat him. He wants to beat at least one of them, at least Hunter. He at least has to throw a front wheel to at least Hunter, but I think he can run the pace of Deegan, because the problem with Jet is if Deegan gets a good start. And then Tomac, dude, honestly, it's going to be interesting because Tomac is probably still faster than Deegan on the 450, but he's got to get a start. And so Deegan kind of has the starts in the bag. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let me get back to what we're saying. Bobby Regan says he looks fast. You know, he's been on the 450, and he gives him the green light to race the last race at Budds Creek, because this year Budds Creek is actually the finale. It's not Ironman, which is interesting, is we got a week off right now and then full blown to Ironman, which I find interesting. You know, Unadilla should have been up here for anyway, but this right here, the finale, racing at Budds Creek. So where do they go on? Deegan currently holds 45-point lead. He needs at least 50 points, but I think he needs more than 50, at least the 51, because it's 25 points per moto, but then you got to have enough for potentially the tiebreaker. So what they're saying here is he would need to increase his gap by 6 points over 4 motos. And basically a first place in a moto and Joe gets second is 3 points, 25 to 22. So Deegan just has to win the next 2 motos with Joe finishing second to clinch the title, to where, well, honestly, because then but he's got to do that at, if I'm thinking at this, he can't just do it at Unadilla. He's got to make sure that he continues that lead at, did I say Unadilla? I meant he's got to do it at Ironman, but then he's got to keep the lead at Unadilla. Jesus. What is I'm doing? So Deegs is saying it's fake news. He is saying it's fake news. Oh, you know, so I don't believe it. I want to see it here, because if anything, okay, fine. Let me finish what we're writing here, and then Chase, you're saying here. So you know, maybe I should have just messaged them first. So, you know, did he post it on his social? Because I don't see anything yet. Moto Media, be reminded of TMZ, hashtag fake news. Fake news. Really? Getting caught on air just like that. You're right. 4 hours ago, he just did that. You know what? Fake news. I still call it. Like, it's still decent news. Somebody get Bobby Regan on the phone so we can have that happen here. Rest in peace. Well, that is a bunch of baloney. It should not be fake news. Should not be fake news. And yeah, so, you know, I'll just put I'll just put a hypothetical at the top, because it would be badass if that actually ended up happening. Well, now, you know, I was all super pumped for this, and now I'm not like near as pumped anymore, because if that actually is what happens. But you know what? I will say this. These guys are master, I don't want to say manipulators, but business savvy individuals. So this could be a giant ploy. Get everybody talking, because the entire Moto news is all talking about, oh, thank God Bitcoin is at 119. And okay. Anyway, reminds me of TMZ fake news. That's what he said. He said it's complete horseshit, Moto BS. But I'm going to say I'm still going to go for it. I'm still going to say I want to see him race it. Okay. I'm still saying that I want to see him race it, and that would be good if he still's able to clinch the title and then race Jet. But he's not going to do it unless he thinks he can beat him. So we will see. I think he's just covering his bases, saying it's fake news, because you know darn well, I'm going to say that behind closed doors, they've been talking about just that, talking about racing a 450 and doing it next year for the Moto stuff. It's his last year regardless on SMX, Supercross, and Motocross, because he's going to point out. So it would make sense for him to just jump in right now, get his feet wet, go from there. So I do believe that, I'm just going to say, Hopper's hypotheticals, that he is going to race the 450. And I personally think there would be nothing to lose, because if he loses, well, he loses. Okay, but nobody's going to hold it against him. So anyway, I guess we'll move on from that BS of a story. That now in MotoGP, Yamaha is struggling to keep up with the Ducati, and here over in America with the BMW, because the new V4 Moto is actually 2 seconds slower when they're having some of their test riders test the new prototype MotoGP bike. And Yamaha has been hesitant to have the MotoGP guys test the new bike, which is, I'm like, let them have it, because if it is that much slower, then, you know, these guys are the still only ones that are using like the inline stuff. So bummer for Yamaha. And then we have some other stuff, which I don't typically, since I guess now this is going to be the rumor show, because it's fake news. Hey, I appreciate the chat room for you guys just freaking saying what it is, that he was saying it's fake news. So I'm all on board with you guys. You guys know what's up. But look at AI. This is so funny, because the AI actually does a pretty good job with making him look like he's in the Twisted Tea. But I've honestly heard that this is a done deal, that he's not going to be on the progressive side, but he's going to be under the Twisted Tea, because they have two different fifth wheels up there. So Jayce Anderson is going to be on a green. That's not a green machine. He's going to be on the yellow machine. And we have Sprocket joining in on the live show. Say, what's up, Sprock? Can you go meow? 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 Say something. Anything. Okay, I'm just choking him, so he's not going to say anything, but he's probably ready for dinner. I'm sure all you guys are ready for dinner as well. But the thing is how do we think he's going to do here? It's definitely not as good of a bike as that Kawasaki, and I will get into a little bit of the Kawasaki in just a second. I really think he probably should have had the Ducati ride over Dylan Ferrandis or Barsha. I mean, who would you pick? I would probably say over Barsha that Jason might have been the better pick for the Ducati squad over there. And I did say this a little bit in my show yesterday, as far as the rider analysis, which a lot of people were saying that was pretty good. So thanks guys for jumping on board that. But Swole got black flagged and nobody talked about it. And truthfully, I think he was justified to get black flagged, because when you're unconscious, you should not be able to re-enter the race. So that is basically what's going on there. And moving on, you have Hurlings is taking over Tim Geiger. And Tim Geiger, I heard, is he maybe going to KTM? Is that maybe what's going on? But anyway, Tim Geiger is going to go to maybe KTM, and then Hurlings is going to jump on to the Honda, which that's probably a pretty good move for him. And I think he's going to do well there, because the Hondas, just for some reason, I'm almost even thinking of buying a freaking red motorcycle, because of how well the Jetsons are making it look. And I know for a fact that those motorcycles are nowhere near something that I could get with the factory edition. So I don't know why I still want to buy a Honda, but I'm still, for some reason, wanting to hold out for the electric Honda, and I appreciate the comment. Thank you for hopping on that. So if I'm just moving forward to this, yeah, Anderson is out with illness, but there's more to the story with that. And I don't like to try to air any dirty laundry, but I'm just saying that there's probably more to the story. There's been some things going on in his family life. So hopefully he's able to get everything handled and situated, because it's been a rough year for this guy. At the beginning of the year, freaking badass, on point, was getting in Jet's face. Everything was great. And then it just kind of started to unravel, man. I feel you. 2025 has been one of those freaking years that you just want to just kind of throw down the shitter, for the lack of any better expression here. And World Supercross has been poaching the hell out of all the riders. We've got confirmation of the Star Yamaha boys. I'm wondering if they are going to run the CDR Yamaha stuff there, or is it going to be totally backed by Star Yamaha and Bobby Regan? That is a question that I want to know for sure. And I'm honestly potentially trying to figure out how I could get my ass to a couple of these. But anyway, you've got Cooper Webb, Tomac, Ken Roczen, and Tom Vial. These guys are spending big money to continue over here. And Coach and I had a little bit of a talk on the podcast this week where we were talking about why is this? Because the sport says that, hey, if we cut races from 33 to 25, well, now the guys are just going to go and race other places. And he made a good argument that it's not because they're just like, oh yeah, I want to go race more races. It's more of like, hey, okay, I raced 33 races. I made, let's say, 2 million. Well, if I go race the World Supercross, which is 4 freaking weekends, and you're going to pay me $500,000 to maybe $1 million, well, that's honestly like job security in case I get injured next year for my contract. So why wouldn't I just go float it over there for 4 more races, kind of phone it in if need be to have the paycheck? And this is where it's going to be hard to compete with the billionaires that, even though Feld is a billionaire, but the money doesn't go around as much. The series is not really paying the riders. There is a good, decent bonus at the end for the Supercross champ, but the main bonuses are coming from Yamaha, where with the World Supercross, it's coming from World Supercross. And yeah, it gets divvy up to the teams, but these guys are getting bonuses to show up, for show up money. It's almost like the UFC. It is show up and put up, and no matter what happens, you win, you do well. No. Show up and put up, you get paid, right? And then if you win, you get paid more, and kind of how it works there. So that's going on. And then also with the Australian Supercross and even Paris, I guess this is Paris, they're also having a bunch of guys go over there as well, where Tom Vial is jumping over there. There's been other names where Aaron Plessinger is. So a lot of guys are trying to race other series to make some money. I'm assuming both these guys are getting show money for that as well. And when it comes to the OzX Open, you've got these 2 big wigs with the Lawrence brothers and then Cole Davies, so it's all Australian guys, but they are getting show up money. We all know that the information that happened with Lucas Myrtle and kind of blocking Deegan and Jayce Anderson in the contract, which sort of sent things in a Hayward spiral that, speculatively, allegedly is sort of what started the whole thing between the agent war and these individuals. Okay, so they're making more money by going over there and promoting. They're not trying to win a championship. They're not going to just lay everything out there. They're just kind of going there for an exhibition race. World Supercross, in my mind right now, is an exhibition race. It's an exhibition series because of them just paying all these riders to come show up, because their contracts are still stating, hey, you still have to finish the series, go over there, but don't get hurt and whatnot. And that's kind of the reason why Ken Roczen still has his deal with Progressive, where he doesn't want, because, from the information that I have, he's been poached by a lot of different people, but he wants to stay with the Suzuki squad just because he's got leverage and he's able to do what he wants to do. And this was interesting, okay, because, it goes back to like this whole secrecy of these guys aren't allowed to say anything as far as, hey, I'm going to Kawasaki. Hey, I'm going to KTM. Well, you know damn well that these guys ride these motorcycles behind closed doors. And I almost hinted, right? I'm sort of alluding a little bit here, but it seemed as like I heard Sexton. I mean, honestly, this was a pretty good banter between these guys. So I'm going to call it for what it is here with Vital. I'm not going to be a dickhead, but with Steve and Sexton, you know, there's some pretty good banter here, but pay attention to what Sexton says about the Kawasaki. For some context, they're talking about, you know, Prado's mishaps and Chad Reed and why that Kawasaki is so fast. No, that Kawasaki is incredibly fast. The package is just not there. The power delivery, sure, it can go fast in a straight line, but, you know, these motorcycles aren't just about raw horsepower. They're about usable power. That's all the programmed ECU and everything that is the complete package with the stuff, along with the suspension. You don't want a bike that's just able to rip your arms off. I mean, maybe Tomac could ride a Kawasaki really well because it's fast as fuck. But, you know, anyway, I'm somewhat digressing. Listen to what Sexton says here.
Chad just said, cannot believe how fast it is. He can't believe how fast it is.
Oh, did you hear that? No, did you hear that? He was just, Sexton was like, oh, and then caught himself like, oh shit, I'm not allowed to say that I rode the damn motorcycle, you know? So sure, maybe he hasn't. I'm going to call just complete horse caca poo poo, because no, he's siding with Kawasaki and he rode the dang bike. Allegedly, right? Or should I just say Hopper's hypotheticals? So boom. And then the other thing that I have up here, let's see if I have it right here. So hopefully.
I watched him at Millville ride it.
The running joke with GP
There's no
riders.
way you can hang on to that thing for 35 minutes.
When he holds your red bar.
No, I think there's something else here. Darn it. You know, they had such a really good banter. I mean,
I watched him ride.
For Vital. Go look at this interview. This was a really good interview between these guys.
It's cams, it's piston, it's Vial.
I watched him ride. That thing's a light switch.
So he's just saying that the motorcycles, he knows how fast that Kawasaki is. Just plain and simple, knows it. Tomac, Hopper's Hypotheticals, has ridden the KTM. You know, AP was probably there. Sexton has ridden the Kawasaki. Anderson was probably there. Same thing with Prado. They know how fast those motorcycles are. But in all honesty, okay, because now the chat room, what I was talking about with Deegan saying that this is TMZ fake Moto use. No, do not do that to us. Don't do that to us. No, I'm just saying, don't do that to the Moto community. Don't. We already have guys just going left and right or getting out, and everyone's getting injured. Nobody wants to race. They all want to race for super motocross. But no, give us something to know. I want to see Deegan beat Jet on a 450 day one. And then two, I want to see him honestly be the 450 rider for MX of Nations. Boom. That is it. Hopper's Hypotheticals. Deegan beats Deegan at Bud's Creek. Deegan does not beat Deegan beats Jet at Bud's Creek after he clinches the championship. And then he goes on to defend the MX of, not defend, but just go. I can't even talk right because now I'm all bummed that Deegan is saying that this is complete fake news here. After that, he goes on to race MX of Nations, not as a 250 rider. Have, God, who would be a good Marchbanks, maybe? I mean, who would be a good American for if Deegan was to race the 450? I got to think about that. But Tomac and Deegan, let's do it. Boom. Right. No, honestly, Sexton and Deegan should still be the better pick for, and Deegan should be the 250 rider. I guess I'm going to just digress and just totally walk backwards when it comes to MX of Nations. But truthfully, that is this week in Moto news. And Deegan, make it be true. Okay. Just pull our leg that you were thinking about racing the 450 and the information got leaked before. Okay. And now you're saying, dun. Anyway, Hopper's Hypotheticals. As guys, enjoy your dinner. Okay. And enjoy the evening. As always, keep it WFO. Oh, and in Tour de France, it's kind of boring at this point now because Taddy is freaking owning everybody because he's like 5 minutes ahead. So if you follow bicycle racing, yeah, we've got a huge stage tomorrow, which will be fun to watch. But Ving to Go pretty much has nothing for Taddy. Honestly, the funny thing is my wife was telling me, she was like, dude, Johnny, why do you like watching this stuff? Because these guys, look at them. They're skin and bones on the front of their bodies, and then, you know, their legs aren't even that big. And I looked over at my wife and I told her, you know what? Honestly, it's sexier when girls ride bicycles because they've got the better just curvature for it, because they got skinny arms. And then, you know, if you got junk in the trunk, it just works better for bicycles. And then guys, we just aren't really designed to be that skinny on the bike to go uphill, you know. Anyway, that was just a conversation that we had. But as always, bra da 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 da.